So the teams are in for Fremantle versus Essendon on the Thursday night. There's a couple of changes for Essendon. We're going to go through the changes for both teams and what they all mean right now. So for starters, Fremantle, not surprisingly, Sam Switkowski, who did his hamstring, is out for the Fremantle Dockers. But importantly for Essendon, Sean Darcy is being managed. Now, this is pretty relevant because we have a young ruckman who is going to make their debut for the Bombers in this match. And we're going to get into that when we have a look at the Essendon team. So this probably helps us. It probably shows they don't respect us that much, to be perfectly honest, because if they were absolutely serious, they would exploit our weakness in the ruck and our potential weakness in the ruck anyway, with a rookie in there, and they would go with their big duo of Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson. But they're not. They're managing Sean Darcy. He is getting managed. He's getting rested. Probably the 5-day break is, a reason behind that. We're doing the same thing, obviously, with Todd Goldstein. It's not quite the same situation. Todd Goldstein's about 87 years old. But that is what it is. They're bringing in Nathan O'Driscoll and James Aish. So Luke Jackson will be their number one ruckman, as he is most weeks. But just interesting about Luke Jackson, he's actually the 6th rated player in the AFL in terms of the Champion Data points ratings. Number 1, would you believe, is Ed Richards from the Western Bulldogs. Ed Richards is the best player in the AFL, according to the Champion Data ratings. And that's, for those that are paying attention, it's perhaps not much of a surprise. But there we go. Of all the players, it is Ed Richards, number 1. Number 2 is Tristan Xerri from North Melbourne. But Andrew Brayshaw, who will be playing in this match, is actually rated the 3rd best player in the competition so far this year. Luke Jackson is 6 and Caleb Sarong is 7, if you look at the 800 or so players on lists. So they are going to be a tough team to beat. I think that they're, it's hard to get a read on them, to be honest. They're kind of good, but they're not so good that you can't beat them. Tabernar is a player who used to tear us up down there, so the fact that he's not there is good thing. Is good thing for us. He always used to give us problems. Patrick Voss, of course, used to be on the Essendon list. So he would know a little bit about us. Let's watch him kick 4 or 5 goals. You can just imagine that happening, can't you? They got Josh Treaty down there, Jai Amos. Shai Bolton's going to cause a bit of problems down there. So they're going to be a tough team to beat. But the fact that they've got the one ruckman does make things a little bit easier for us, especially given that we have one ourselves who is so raw. So if you have a look at the Essendon team, and here it is. The ins are Vigo Visentini for his first game of the year. Ben Hobbs, who comes back into the team after I thought it was a so-so game in the reserves. He was okay. He was not one of our worst players in the reserves. You would think he would be able to be one of our best players in the reserves, but I don't know whether he's really got it. I just think his kicking is not long enough. He just can't seem to kick over a jam tin. But anyway, he's back in the side. Todd Goldstein is managed, as I predicted last week, coming off the 5-day break, and also with a trip to Perth, and Archer Day Wicks is omitted. So if we have a look at the team from the back line, we have Archie Roberts, Jaden Laverde and Andrew McGrath. Across the half-back line, we have Angus Clark, Jackson Pryor and Zach Johnson. That really is a pretty average back line. It's not so much the quality of the players, but just, Angus Clark and Zach Johnson, 2 of our better young players sort of holding down half-back flanks positions in the back line. And they're, a 3rd gamer and a 5th gamer. It's just, you look at it and you think, well, where are the tall players? But reinforcements will be coming in the next couple of weeks, specifically after the bye. Luaman Lual retains his spot in the team on a wing. Zach Merritt across the centre, and Xavier Dersma, who's been okay for us, on the other wing. The half-forward line, we have Nick Martin, Nate Caddy and Archie Perkins. Caddy has been struggling a little bit. I don't think any of this is his fault, to be honest. He's 19 years old. He's sort of put into that position through no fault of his own, where he's just seen as the next big thing, a saviour or anything. But he's 19. At the end of the day, look, if you have a look at Geelong side, who thrashed us last week, and you have a look at maybe some equivalent player down there who's kind of in an equivalent age group, or a young player, someone like Shannon Neal. Neil's young, but he's 23, and it's taken him a little while to reach the heights that he's got to now. Nate Caddy's still 4 years away from the age that Neil's at. And I'm sure Neil wasn't expected to dominate the AFL when he was 19, and neither should Nate Caddy. So it is tough on Nate, being expected to shoulder such a burden when he's still a teenager. But nevertheless, there he is at centre-half forward. Our full forward line, Isaac Kako, Peter Wright, and Archer May retains his spot in the team. Be great to see Archer get another shot at goal. He kicked it behind last week, just touched on the line. He's a beautiful long kick of the ball, and I'd love to see him hit the scoreboard in his second game. That would be great. And look, we do have a bit of height down there. Peter Wright and Archer May, two big tall players over 200 centimetres tall. That will stretch Fremantle's defence a little bit. The followers, Vigo Visentini, Jai Caldwell and Darcy Parish in the roving position. And the interchange bench, Ben Hobbs, Jade Gresham, Will Setterfield, Matt Guelphy and Lachlan Blackiston retains his spot in the team. The emergencies, Dylan Shiel, Reece Unwin and Archer Daywicks. Dylan Shiel, I did say that I thought he should come into the side just because of his experience. Reece Unwin is a player that has, been so-so in the VFL. I think he's definitely got the chance of a future in the AFL. Good little left foot player, smart little player. Probably just hasn't got enough of the ball at the moment. But given that who else is getting a game in the side, there's a good chance at some point, especially if he's second emergency now, that he could be up for a debut at some point before the end of the year. I'm glad Blackiston retains his spot in the team. I think, whilst you could make the argument it was maybe a little bit of a mistake to at least play him in the backline, a position he's not familiar with, at the end of the day, the club were experimenting in the VFL 2 weeks earlier, and he played well in the VFL. And the question is, do you accelerate him into the AFL based on their one VFL game? Normally you wouldn't, but obviously the situation is a little bit different with our backline. And yeah, he did struggle a little bit, but that's not his fault. I mean, he was thrown really to the wolves against Geelong in a position on the ground, centre half back, full back, whatever you want to call it, where he'd never really played before. He was selected as a ruckman in the mid-season draft. And there he is playing one game at centre half back in the reserves, playing well, and then accelerated to play that same position of centre half back against the best team in the AFL. And then, of course, he struggled. And there'd be, nothing worse, I think, than struggling when it's not your fault, when you're playing in a foreign position and then you drop straight away. So he's on the interchange bench. I don't know what that will mean. I have a suspicion he might help out in the ruck a little bit with Vigo Visentini. Whilst Blackiston has only played one game, he is 26. He's a mature player, and he's obviously an experienced ruckman at waffle level, and he's played against men at that level. So I think he'll probably help a little bit with Vigo in the ruck, which it's interesting. You've got like a first gamer and a second gamer, potentially playing in the ruck there. I mean, Peter Wright might help out a little bit, but Blackiston, remember, he is a ruckman. He is mature age. He is 26. So I think he'll probably help a little bit out in the ruck, and he might also go down in the back line where he was, being trialled and experimented with in the 2 weeks prior in the VFL, and he didn't really get a chance to show his, what he can do. So I'd like to see what he is capable of, see what his strengths and weaknesses are out there on the ground, because he didn't really get to show them against Geelong through no fault of his own. Still no Dylan Shiel in this team. Look, I understand not picking him. I understand he's probably not going to be on the list next year. I did state in my preview video that I think just that extra experienced player should be picked. I just think the team does look too young, especially with Goldstein now out of the team. There's just, too few, midfielders in particular who can really show that experience. You've got Merritt, of course, down there. Nick Martin to an extent, but he's still young himself. I think Shiel would have been an asset to the team. And two things can be true at once. You can be of the opinion that he, should be off the list next year, but he also should be in the team this week. You can actually have two things being true at the same time. But anyway, he's not in the team. We have Hobbs in instead. Perkins retains his spot. Vigo's in, and Goldstein and Archer Daywicks are both out of the side. So what do you guys think? You're going to be watching this game on Thursday. I'm going to be watching closely as always. Hopefully we can be competitive. I don't think we're going to win. I'm going to leave it there. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe to this channel. And as always, go Bombers.